An easy way to get out of the domestic abuse situation.
Hey, Mr.
Sign
Reeker.
a waiver.
Like your green shirt, must be St. Patrick's Day.
Right, I was red, and he accused me of being a State Farm agent, so I went green today. I'm a leprechaun.
I was gonna say something about FNBO, but I was.
It's a little, they're hunter, I don't wear. Trying to change up from navy blue that I wear every day.
Jim,
I love it.
you do boxing.
Yankees,
I'm just appreciated that you try to vary your.
my wardrobe. Well, my wife tells me that navy blue doesn't go with black pants. I don't agree
Yes,
with
sir.
her. I get told that. I know.
Okay.
It looks great.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for letting me know.
I am Catholic, so I gotta.
Ask her where my marketing's from.
Yeah, now it melts, even when Chelsea and Steph, and, well, our family were good friends with Keith. So it was a nice way, they had friends, it was very amicable.
My son had friends,
And that's another thing.
All right, good evening, everybody. Here we are at the City Council Special North Platte City Council meeting, Thursday, September 7th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. We are, of course, in the City Hall Council Chambers. Calling the meeting officially to order. Angie, would you do a roll call, please?
Nisley?
Here.
Drown? Here. Wolf?
Here.
Lucas?
Here.
Garrick?
Here.
Flanders?
Here.
Reeker?
Here.
Woods?
Thank you. A current copy of the Open Meetings Act of the State of Nebraska is posted on the wall at the back of the council chambers, roughly above the fire chief's head at this point. So, okay. We start this meeting tonight with a public hearing, and it's essentially regarding the resolution setting the property tax rate for the fiscal year 2023-2024. We do not have a large number of members of the public sitting with us tonight, but there may be some watching on YouTube or TV. So, Dawn, would you get up and just tell us a minute or two about what this resolution is actually doing? Please, and thank you.
Yes, Mayor, Council, the resolution that we have this evening is the formalizing of the discussion that we had briefly, the presentation from Tuesday evening. And so it provides that the property tax request total dollars for the city will be $7,594,725, which results in a levy request of .401316, and that is approximately 3.77 cents lower than last year's levy was, and also a reduction in total tax asking of approximately $57,000.
Thank you very much. You might as well sit close. You're probably going to be up there a lot tonight. Thank you. Okay. We have an open public hearing. Would anyone like to get up to the mic and tell us who you are and make a comment or ask a question? It would appear that no one is going to ask a question.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Garrick to close the public hearing. Calling the question on closing the public hearing, please. Public hearing is closed. Thank you. Council will now consider resolutions setting the property tax rate for fiscal year 2023 and 2024.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution to approve an addition. I'm sorry, I think I'm reading it wrong.
Number one, please. Number one.
Actually, the resolution's done for number 4. That was just the public.
Oh, excuse me, I misspoke, Mr. Reeker, I apologize.
Number 2.
Let me read number 2 real quick. I misevaluated the process, my mistake, I'm sorry. Okay, we're on to number 2. Thank you, Angie, for clarifying. Adopt the resolution to approve an additional 1 cent budget authority for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Mr. Mayor?
Mhm.
I move to adopt the resolution to approve an additional 1% budget authority for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Garrick. This is one of those things that we have done the last 2 or 3 years. I don't recall how many times it was done before, certainly from time to time. But Dawn, would you give us a quick explanation for the sake of everyone in the public knowing what's going on here, please? And if you give the explanation that you usually give me so that hopefully everybody will understand it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Make sure the mic's on if you would, Dawn.
The light is on.
Okay, you might have to lift it up towards your mouth a little bit.
Sure.
There we go. Thank
Is
you.
that a little better?
Perfect.
Okay, yes, this additional resolution is an opportunity to increase the city's restricted funds authority by an additional 1%. We have an annual increase that the city is allowed to take, an automatic, if you will, of 2.5%. So this additional 1%, we have an opportunity to request the approval of council to take this. And what this essentially does is increase the authority that the city has to budget any revenues that are considered restricted funds, which is a fairly large majority of the city's total revenues, to include sales tax, property tax, in lieu of tax, the funds that we receive from the state. So it's a fairly large amount. And with the recent increases in economic activity, we've seen much larger growth in these revenues, primarily sales tax. And so with some of that growth outpacing the 2.5%, we would eventually fall behind if we continue increasing at those rates. So this does not equate to an increase in expenditures. It is on the revenues side, but we do all know that it takes both revenues and expenditures to balance a budget.
Thank you. So just so everyone's on the same page and we're clear, this is in no way raises anyone's taxes, correct?
That is correct.
Right.
That is.
It simply allows the city to intake more revenue should it become available, such as if we have an increase in sales tax as we've seen the last several years.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone else have any questions on that?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just to clarify, is this the item that takes a higher majority of the vote?
Yes, this does require, I believe it's a 3/4, the 75% approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Reeker, go ahead.
You probably explained this to me last
No,
year,
that's-
and I don't remember. So if I understand correctly, this allows us to accept the additional revenue up to 1%,
This,
an additional 1%.
this allows us to include the revenue in our budget up to the limitation. We are not at the limit currently, but what this allows is a compounding factor essentially. So when we take the additional 1%, that increases the base that gets used for the next year's calculation. So even though we're not quite at the limit this year, it allows us to compound our base level that is used for future budgets. My understanding is in some communities, this is has been an annual process for them for several years. And it's just something that we've recently started, like the mayor indicated, I think about 2 years may have been our first year adopting this, when we started seeing that increased growth on the sales tax.
So
Right.
if we reach that level, that maximum level, then what happens? We can't accept any more money?
I believe that we can accept it, but we could not include it as a revenue in our budget. So it would basically just be a cash balance that would be inaccessible, or we wouldn't
At least
have
for
budget.
This year it would be inaccessible, then
That's-
next year it would be accessible.
Well, I would say potentially, depending upon where our restricted funds authority moved to. If we had room to include it, then we could include it in the subsequent year.
It's a good thing you're dealing with this.
Oh, Donna, go ahead.
That's okay, thank you. So then, what if something happens in reverse, the sales tax decreases? We just wouldn't have this meeting, this decision.
We still have to comply with the restricted funds lid, but if we reduced our revenues, that would give us more room technically, under which we would be. So we would be in compliance completely if the revenues, there would be no harm to having the higher authority level. Donna,
Okay.
yes.
I think I
Yes.
have it now.
Mr. Bowles?
I think the two key words in here are budget authority. It's not doing anything with expenditures. It's just allowing us to be able to set next year's budget, as opposed, if we have a windfall, we can move our budget. So it's just better planning for Dawn and her staff. So all this is affecting is our ability to use an extra 1% for budget authority. So it's purely proper planning.
Yes, yes, it does increase the current year's calculation, but then we get to use that result for the next year's calculation as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
It's moments like this that we especially appreciate Dawn, right? Okay, and her diligence. Okay, do we have any further questions or comments? Seeing none, calling the question on number 2. Number 2 is passed. Number 3, action on ordinance number 4143 to adopt the budget statement and to appropriate city monies for fiscal year 2023-2024.
I move to suspend the rules requiring 3 separate readings and to approve ordinance number 4143.
Yeah, hold on.
I jumped the gun, didn't I?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to read this because Lane's got a little bit of a cough, and I want to minimize his breathing next to me as much as possible. So. An ordinance of the mayor and the council of the city of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, to adopt the budget statement to be termed the annual appropriation bill, to appropriate some for necessary expenses and liabilities, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
I move to suspend the rules requiring 3 separate readings and to approve ordinance number 4143.
Second.
Motion by Garrick, second by Vols. We have discussion on the budget statement. Dawn, you want to tell us real quick, make sure we all understand what we're doing here.
Yes, so this is the ordinance that we need to have approved in order to finalize our budget process and formally be able to begin our next year with an adopted budget. This will also be filed with the state auditor as well as the county clerk's office prior to September 30th of 2023. The supporting documentation with this item just provides a copy of the publication that was published in the Telegraph, as well as a chart that outlines all of the city's funds, last year's budget compared with this year's estimates, and the budget that is being proposed for next fiscal year. And then we did also provide the general fund revenue and expenditures breakdowns, which have been included in your budget notebook already as well.
Thanks, Dawn.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Lucas?
Yeah, I'd like to move an amendment to increase the sales, promotion, and advertising section of the electric department budget on page 69 to increase the annual promotional payment to the North Platte Chamber and Devco by $25,000, along with a reduction of the reserve capital expenditure on page 70 by the same $25,000.
So your motion is to increase the amount that is paid to the Chamber and Devco organization and reduce that money from increase that, basically reduce the other side of the budget. So, okay.
Yeah, and if there's a second on my proposed amendment, I'll be happy to explain it in a little more detail, if that's okay.
I just want to make sure we kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will second it, because I'd love to hear the explanation.
Okay. We have a
Okay.
proposed amendment by Mr. Lucas and a second by Vols.
Well, I've thought a lot about this. If you go back in history, the city had historically had economic development staffing in addition to the development staffing. And many years ago, there was, I think, a concerted effort to align more with the Chamber and Development Corporation, who later merged. I'd also like to reiterate that if you read the letter from Mr. Pearson, he requested the same amount in the past, but in that same paragraph, there was a little bit of a, if you guys can find it in your heart to give us more, I'd sure appreciate it. And I talked to him just briefly about it, but this request is not being pressed by Gary or the Chamber Board. This is being pressed by me. The last time that this amount was altered was in the fiscal year end that ended 9/30 of 2017. So this would be 6 cycles currently. And the reason I developed 25,000 is because if you back that into 6 cycles, it comes just a shade over 3%, which would be fairly similar to what we've done with our own staffing at the city's wages and whatnot. And I guess as I look back on it, and I know that the Chamber and Development Corporation's budget is growing every year, and they're receiving more contributions from members, new members, membership, and all that, but they're also providing a significant service to the city of North Platte. They're managing the application stages of the Quality Growth Fund for us and organizing those meetings. They're often the first contact in coordination with the Development Department and our utility departments for incentive requests, for planning infrastructure. I can't imagine the staffing costs we would need to incur to try to cover all the activities they are. And they're just doing a tremendous job. Our sales tax growth has ranged from 6 to maybe 10 or 11% over the last several years. So we've had significant sales tax. And so I want to make sure we're just not forgetting about them a little bit in this, because we are, I think we are their the first source of revenue, even though they have a much larger budget than what the city contributes. We are a significant part of that, and it ties back to the strategy that our town had for, okay, let's focus economic development to this organization. Let's merge it with our chambers to try to align the goal of existing businesses and economic development. And so I just feel like that we should do that. I'm not interested in altering the tax levy or the tax ask request. Very pleased with where that's come out. And even though I was touting the other day how we need to grow our electrical utility reserves, this would debit that to keep everything else balanced. So the line item's a little over $8 million there, that it would drop this by 25,000. Is that the way you see it, Don? And so the idea here would be to shift from that capital reserve expenditure to shift $25,000 over to promotion and advertising for electrical utility, which would then pay the Chamber Development Corporation $150,000 instead of $125,000. Then my hope would be that that number could sit stable for a while in the future.
Mr. Vols?
I did, when Gary sent that letter in on the ask for the Quality Growth Funds, I believe it was, I read that line and felt we needed to do more for the chamber, just with what they're doing in our community. Without them, we would be severely underserved. My question is, and I guess I'd like to hear from someone from Municipal Light and Water and what they think of this. this plan. There is no doubt in my mind that the chamber does need more help and support from us, one way or the other. I just want to make sure that the municipal light and water and the electric rates reserve is, and I believe that's where it's coming out of, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I probably didn't clarify. That's where that line item is being paid today, so it wouldn't alter where it's being paid from. It would add to where it's.
Just increase that by 25,000.
Yeah, and then to keep everything level, if you're gonna add it, you had to reduce it from somewhere, and so I asked Dawn what her suggestion would be for that, and that's why we picked the capital, reserve capital expenditure,
Okay.
budgeted capital reserve expenditure. Now, I'm hopeful that with all the development activity we have in, we continue to grow our volume of power rates, and the reserve grows at a fast pace, and this becomes a non-event in terms of having an adequate reserve.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lynn.
I guess I would just say on that, from municipal light and water, historically, that's where this has been paid, the promotions has been paid from. Doesn't mean it always has to be from that, that's where it has been historically. We are seeing unprecedented increases in our costs in components and things, and all our utilities. And so that is a concern of us right now. It's something we can sure do some more monitoring and some more figuring, and maybe in the future we would decide to take the promotions out of a different area, but that's where it historically has come from. But it is, as we've talked about the last couple of months, it is a concern with the price of things going up more than the inflation rate and the utilities, transformers, and then our piping and things in water and sewer as well. So all that's gone up greater than the inflation rate, but I think it's a fairly small increase on that total budget, but it's something to consider to watch.
I think I'm not opposed to the increase. I mean, they've certainly earned it, and the work they're doing has been fantastic lately. So kudos to Gary and their team. You guys do a fantastic job. It's probably too late in the game to talk about maybe moving that over to another fund of some sort, given the constraints. But maybe next year we take a look at that and see where else we could maybe pull that from.
Definitely.
Yeah, if you don't mind me responding to that, Mayor. I agree with you, Brad, that as our sales tax revenues are continuing to grow, it kind of falls in line with what we were talking about, trying to get more reserves. It does seem like this overall item should maybe be considered for movement to another revenue source. I agree with you completely.
I would be open in the future, looking at different ways where we may take that from. So I'll take any council input on that going forward.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this motion? Donna?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I kind of agree with what Lane was talking about. Cost has gone up considerably, and I don't know if now, at this late date, we should be shuffling money because of that.
I think percentage-wise, it's a very small percentage, and it's something but it's something we need to keep our eye on. And I think going forward for the next budget cycle, it's something we should maybe look at some other areas for that promotions line item to come from, or at least a portion of it.
So if if this passes tonight, will that change these numbers?
It doesn't net change the numbers.
The net does not change.
Something that's, just done internally, or, I mean, we have the option of doing it if we want.
So
I'm confused
if,
why I'm moving.
if this amendment would be approved, the line item on, I believe it's page 69 of our budget, our advertising budget in the electric fund would increase by the 25,000, and the reserved capital expenditure line on page 70 of our budget notebook would be reduced by the 25,000. So those two numbers would change, but our total budget request, the amounts we published for budget purposes, would stay the exact same. we would just make that change internally in the detail budget documents, but that change would not impact the total or the net budget.
Thanks, Don. Go ahead.
Just want to add a point of clarity on that, Donna. So if you go back to this page that we were given, it's promotions budget, it's at the beginning of our budget package, and it had the 5 promotion budget recipients. All I'm really asking is to change the Chamber Development Corporations from 125 to 150,000. I'm not proposing any changes on the other 4. And I'd kind of almost forgotten until I dug into it deeper that promotional budget item has come through the electrical department. Probably in the past because they were the ones that had money to help pay for it, frankly. And so I agree that recalibrating that to the right source is probably a good idea. But my motion got pretty technical with where you're debiting, crediting it, but the end result is I'm just looking for that to be altered from 125 to 150 to help support their operating budget, which includes payroll, occupancy expense, and the marketing and advertising things go on at the Chamber and Development Corporation.
If I may, so it's a reduction of 25,000 in cash reserve. That's where the other side comes.
From the budgeted cash reserve.
Budgeted cash reducing at 25, putting it there.
Yeah, from the budgeted growth of cash reserve is where it comes from. Yep.
And if I may, just to clarify on that, that would be the capital cash reserve just in the electric fund. That would not have any impact to the general fund cash reserve, which is the cash reserve that we have spoken about.
All right.
And that number, I'm sorry, you've lost
ahead.
control, Mayor.
We're going to be done here pretty quick, so.
That is the cash beginning year on page 70. That's that number we're looking at there. And we have an estimated and we have a budgeted 23, 24. Second to the bottom line on page 70.
Yes, so.
That's that number of 25,000 would be reduced there.
Right here.
So on page 70, those bottom lines, that cash beginning of the year, those would not change because we would be
Okay.
crediting one of the line items within the budget and debiting the other. So the bottom line would stay the same there. It would just be that the capital reserve piece would be reduced by 25,000
Okay.
because of the increase in the contribution promotions if that is approved.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarity. Thanks, Ty.
Ed?
Mr. Mayor, I know, I don't think we can sing enough accolades for the chamber for all they've done for our community, and especially Gary Pearson. But I'm thinking we're going to be spending a lot of money on infrastructure in the next number of years here, a lot of money. And I know because of the construction that we're involved with, electrical equipment is way past the cost of inflation. In fact, and sometimes it's 2 and 3 times higher than what it was a year ago. And in some cases, you can't even get it. I was talking with one of our contractors here in town about PVC pipe. Common sense tells me that, well, price of oil is pretty stable, so PVC pipe should be stable too. Well, apparently, when the big winter hit Texas a couple of years ago, that's where most of the PVC pipe was made, and they had molten PVC, polyvinyl chloride, in the extrusion machines, and the power went off. So it got hard in the extrusion machines, and so that has limited the number of people that are actually making this pipe. And Lane, you know better than I, but I think I was told but the price of pipe has increased about 100-fold.
Pretty astronomical.
And so, I think we'd be prudent, actually. I know $25,000 doesn't sound like a lot of money, but I would propose that we wait a year on this, actually, and take a little more time to get some of this stabilized, and then make a decision at that time. And I don't want to take any accolades from Gary, because I know Gary does a tremendous amount, and the chamber do a tremendous amount of work for our community, but that would be my thoughts.
So just to be clear, you weren't proposing an amendment, you were just offering your opinion?
Just a thought, just
Okay.
my
Okay,
opinion.
thank you. That's what I thought, okay. My head math isn't always perfect. So. Okay, any other thoughts or questions on this amendment? Seeing none, calling the question on the amendment, which is essentially to increase the amount given to the, or donated to the chamber by $25,000. It would appear the item is passed. We don't have any special levels of, we have four, okay. we're good.
This is just on the amendment.
Right.
The
Yep.
original motion was to waive the 3 readings, so that would require a different.
Okay.
This was just on the amendment.
Yep, that's right, okay. Okay, so the amendment is passed. So now the original item number 3 would be action on ordinance number 4143, which is essentially approving the budget with the amendment of moving the $25,000 to the chamber out of the capital fund. Do we have any further thoughts or discussions on the slightly amended number 3? Seeing none, calling the question on the slightly amended number 3. This would pass this in one motion rather than 3 readings. Okay, number 3 is officially passed in one motion. Thank you, everyone. Number 4, adopt the resolution setting the property tax rate for fiscal year 2023 and 2024.
I move to adopt the resolution setting the property tax rate for fiscal year 2023, 2024.
Second.
Motion by Garrick, second by Reeker. Don, I think this one is fairly straightforward, but do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I don't. This would revert back to the brief discussion we had before the public hearing on the first item.
Okay, thank you. Any thoughts or questions on number 4?
Just a comment, Mayor. Great job for lowering taxes. Big fan.
Okay,
Councilman Garrett, all of the city staff worked hard to keep our budget flat and worked hard for this, so
We-
kudos to them.
The city of North Platte appreciates it.
okay. Calling the question on number 4, please. Number 4 is passed.
I made a motion.
You have a motion, I'm sorry, I think I forgot to say it. Motion by Garrick, second by Reeker. Sorry, I may not have repeated that. I'm sorry, Angie. Okay, number 4 is passed.
Mayor,
Yes.
I move to enter into a closed session for the protection of the public interest related to strategic sessions regarding contract negotiations.
Second.
Motion by Garrick, second by Vols for executive session. We need a voting rung here, Angie, please. Thank you. Please vote to enter executive session. Council is now in executive session.
waiting for the pool announcement, so they don't know the amount of times.
The pool announcement, okay. Well, next time you need to let us in the pool, if you would, please. Okay, we're back. We reconvened at 6:59, so 56 minutes. Whoever had that number in the pool, hopefully you won. Just letting Angie get situated here before we get going. Okay, number 5, action on ordinance number 4144, approving North Platte electric rates to be effective October 1, 2023. Let me get here and read this so Lane doesn't cough on me. Sorry, I meant to mark them. Hold on.
Page 27.
Go ahead, Bill.
Ordinance number 4144, an ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, approving electric rates to be charged to the customers of the City of North Platte Electric Department, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof in pamphlet form as provided by law.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we move to suspend the rules requiring 3 separate readings and approve ordinance number 4144.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Vols. Do we have any discussion on number 5? So why don't you go ahead and cue up number 6 on your screen there. So. Okay, seeing none, calling the question on number 5, please. Number 5 is passed. Number 6. Action on ordinance number 4145, approving North Platte's water rates to be effective October 1, 2023. Bill, if you would read it.
Ordinance number 4145, an ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, approving water rates to be charged to the customers of the City of North Platte Water Department, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof in pamphlet form as provided by law.
Mr. Mayor, I move to suspend the rules requiring 3 separate readings and to approve ordinance number 4145.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Nisley. Any discussion on item number 6? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 6, please. Item number 6 is passed. Item number 7. Action on ordinance number 4146, approving North Platte's wastewater rates to be effective October 1, 2023. Bill, would you read, please?
Ordinance number 4146, an ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, approving wastewater rates to be charged to the customers of the City of North Platte Sewer Department, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof in pamphlet form as provided by law.
Mr. Mayor, I move to suspend the rules requiring 3 separate readings and approve ordinance number 4146.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Flanders. On number 7, do we have any discussion on number 7? Seeing none, calling the question on number 7, please. Number 7 is passed. Number 8. Bless you.
Thank you.
Action on ordinance number 4147 to adopt the salary schedule for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Ordinance number 4147, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, adopting a position classification plan for all city positions and allocating the several city positions to classes in a classification plan, repealing ordinance number 4105 and other ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof in pamphlet form.
I move to suspend the rules requiring 3 separate readings and to approve ordinance number 4147.
Second.
Motion by Garrick, second by Nisley. Do we have any discussion on item number 8? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 8, please. Item number 8 is passed. As there are no other agenda items on our meeting tonight, the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all for attending. Have a great evening.